Crow Zero Part 2 begins a few months later. Once again, Genji decides to challenge Rindon. However, just like before, Rindon uneasily defeats him. After showing Genji's loss, the movie shifts to a prison scene. There, a young man named Kawanishi is finally released from jail. Carrying flowers in his hand, he heads straight to a cemetery. Through a flashback, we learn that he was the one responsible for the death of Hosen High School's former leader. Suddenly, several students from Hosen High School arrive at the graveyard. These boys are feared by everyone and are known as the Army of Killers because of their strength and brutality. The moment they spot Kawanishi, they begin chasing him. While escaping, Kawanishi eventually runs into Serizawa and Tokaji. In reality, after the tragic incident from the past, Hosen and Suzuran students were forbidden from fighting each other. Soon after, Genji and his group also arrive at the scene. Since Genji knows nothing about the old conflict, he fails to understand the situation. Meanwhile, the Hosen boys continue provoking everyone with their insults. Their attitude irritates Genji, and he suddenly attacks one of them. Tokaji quickly steps in and stops him, but Genji's mistake has already caused damage. The peace that existed between the two schools is shattered. Without realizing it, Genji has reignited a rivalry that had been buried for years. The Hosen students leave the area, and the story flashes back 2 years into the past. At that time, a massive war had broken out between Suzuran and Hosen. Kawanishi was leading Suzuran, while Makio was the leader of Hosen. During a fierce one-on-one battle between Kawanishi and Makio, a knife was suddenly used, and Makio lost his life. His death became the reason for the deep hatred that developed between the two schools. From that day onward, both schools carried immense resentment toward each other. The conflict remained unresolved for years, but eventually a fragile agreement brought the fighting to an end. Unfortunately, Genji's actions have now destroyed that peace. Later, at a bar, Genji meets Serizawa and talks with him about Ken. He tells Kawanishi that the person responsible for Ken's death was his own boss. The truth is that Ken was one of Kawanishi's closest friends. When Kawanishi keeps demanding answers, the man finally confesses that he personally killed Ken. At the same time, the students of Hosen High School begin planning their revenge against Suzuran for breaking the agreement. Leading them is the dangerous and fearless Tiger Narumi. Tiger Narumi is now the leader of Hosen High School. Meanwhile, Tokaji, Genji, and Serizawa sit together and discuss the growing threat of Hosen. Tokaji warns Genji that taking on Hosen alone will not be easy, but Genji confidently replies that the GPS gang is more than enough to crush every fighter in Hosen. At the same time, Hosen's former top fighter, Bito Tatsuya, is being encouraged to attack Suzuran. However, Tatsuya has no interest in joining the conflict and walks away. Elsewhere, Kawanishi finally manages to find Ken after searching for him for a long time. Ken is now living a peaceful life, working as a mechanic who repairs boat engines. In the past, Ken and Kawanishi had fought side by side countless times at Suzuran. During their conversation, Ken reveals the truth behind the old tragedy. Kawanishi admits that he still regrets the mistakes he made back then. However, Ken tells him that things might have turned out differently if he had chosen to fight at that moment. Those words make Kawanishi furious because everything he did was for the sake of protecting Suzuran. Back at Suzuran High School, members of the GPS gang continue clashing with Hosen students. Some fighters even leave Hosen and decide to join Genji's side. Meanwhile, Takashi suddenly disappears from the GPS gang. The story then reveals a shocking incident involving him. Unable to control the situation around him, Takashi becomes trapped in a dangerous encounter that leaves everyone shaken. After witnessing what happened, Lucky becomes terrified and immediately runs away. At the same time, Hosen's strongest fighters begin targeting Serizawa's allies. Among them is Ryo, one of Hosen's most feared warriors. Ryo and his group brutally attack several Suzuran students. Soon after, Hosen openly declares war. Leading the charge is Narumi, who is determined to destroy anyone standing in his way. Watching his friends suffer fills Genji with rage. Takashi's condition becomes a symbol of how serious the situation has become. Hosen's fighters continue spreading fear while carrying out Narumi's plans. Serizawa is left badly injured and ends up spending months recovering. Earlier, Takashi had dreamed of challenging Serizawa, defeating him, and earning a place among the strongest members of the GPS gang. Unfortunately, Serizawa crushed that dream with his famous finishing move. With his plan completely ruined, Takashi is forced to accept defeat. Elsewhere, Kawanishi tries convincing Yazaki to join Suzuran in order to strengthen their side. However, Yazaki refuses the offer without hesitation. After Kawanishi leaves, Yazaki's men make a shocking move and attack Genji's father. This incident creates an opportunity for the Yakuza to get involved in the conflict. At that moment, Genji is spending time at a local bar. The owner of the bar secretly takes Genji to the basement where his injured father is resting. There, Genji's father tells him that Suzuran lacks true unity and strength. He suddenly punches Genji and orders him to leave. Despite his age, Genji's father is still incredibly fast. He throws Genji to the floor with ease and explains that strength alone is not enough. According to him, a leader must learn to use his mind as well as his fists. After leaving the bar, Genji steps outside and lights a cigarette. Unexpectedly, Narumi appears beside him and lights the cigarette for him. At that moment, Genji has no idea that the man standing before him is Narumi himself. Not long after, Kawanishi informs Genji about the attack on his father. Hearing the news, Genji immediately rushes to the hospital and asks everyone to leave the room. As he stands beside his father's bed, sadness overwhelms him. For the first time, tears begin to fall from the eyes of the usually fearless Genji. Meanwhile, the Yakuza contacts Kawanishi and reveals that their target is still alive. They warn him that if the victim regains consciousness, everything could fall apart. Because of this, they discuss finishing the job before it is too late. News of the attack eventually reaches Ken through a video recording. The moment he sees it, Ken grabs a truck and heads out without wasting a second. At Hosen High School, Narumi asks Tatsuya to join forces and attack Suzuran together. But Tatsuya calmly replies that Suzuran is his personal matter, and he will become stronger while also avenging his brother's death. After hearing those words, Narumi embraces Tatsuya with respect. Meanwhile, Genji once again challenges Rindon, hoping for a different outcome. Unfortunately, the result remains exactly the same. Soon after, Suzuran's training hall is mysteriously set on fire. Evidence points toward Hosen's involvement. Even after witnessing this, Genji refuses to back down. Consumed by anger, he declares that he will march into Hosen territory and fight every one of them by himself. However, his friends remind him that acting alone will only lead to disaster. Tokaji becomes furious and harshly criticizes Genji for his reckless behavior. The argument grows intense, and Genji nearly loses control of himself. Just when things are about to spiral out of control, Serizawa steps forward and stops him. The following day, Serizawa meets Genji and tries to warn him. After arriving at Suzuran High School, he explains that the school is facing more problems than ever before. However, Genji ignores the warning and decides to head straight toward Hosen. This time, only 5 members accompany him. When Narumi sees Genji arrive, he immediately recognizes him. The two exchange a few words before Genji boldly tells Narumi to prepare himself for tomorrow's battle. Narumi asks where the fight will take place. Without hesitation, Genji replies that the battleground will be Hosen High School itself. Before leaving, Genji even offers Narumi a cigarette as a sign of respect. After returning to Suzuran, Genji gathers everyone together. Inspired by the lessons he learned from his father in the hospital, he speaks from the heart. He tells the students what it truly means to live as a man. He then asks everyone to join him in tomorrow's fight. According to Genji, it is not an order from a leader but a request from a friend. Meanwhile, Kawanishi secretly reaches the hospital with a gun in his hand and prepares to shoot Genji's father. At that very moment, Ken arrives and stops him. With tears in his eyes, Ken tells Kawanishi about everything he has been carrying inside for years. After hearing his words, Kawanishi slowly lowers the gun. Soon after, Genji's father's bodyguards arrive and capture both Ken and Kawanishi. However, Genji's father stops his men and decides to hear Ken's side of the story first. The next morning, Suzuran students begin preparing for the final battle. Unfortunately, only a small number of boys show up. As the time of the fight gets closer, several students lose their courage. They announce that they will not participate and choose to return home instead. With so few fighters remaining, Genji's chances of winning become extremely low. Many people begin believing that the battle is already over before it has even started. One by one, the students start leaving. After watching them walk away, Genji quietly heads out by himself. However, Kawanishi still has complete faith in him. He knows Genji is not the type of person who gives up. Because of this, he tells the remaining boys to get ready. Meanwhile, Serizawa learns that Genji has gone to Hosen alone. At the same time, Genji arrives at Hosen's territory without any fear. On the other side, hundreds of Hosen fighters are already waiting. Even though the odds are impossible, Genji keeps the promise he made. One of the Hosen students looks at him and asks if this is some kind of joke. Standing alone in front of everyone, Genji calmly replies that he is enough to take on all of them. The moment he finishes speaking, he charges forward and attacks. Several Hosen students immediately immediately surround him and begin beating him. Just then, Tatsuya arrives at the scene. He asks Narumi to settle everything through a one-on-one fight instead of dragging everyone else into the conflict. But Narumi simply smiles and tells Tatsuya that Genji's strength is much greater than he thinks. Moments later, the GPS gang arrives, followed by Serizawa's entire army. Now both GPS and Serizawa's factions stand united against Hosen. The sight shocks everyone present. Serizawa then tells his men to follow their leader into battle. Seeing this, Tatsuya quietly steps back and watches. Narumi invites Genji to the rooftop and challenges him to a final one-on-one fight. At the same time, the biggest gang war of the movie finally begins. Students from both schools rush toward each other and start fighting everywhere. Fists fly from every direction as the battlefield turns into complete chaos. While Genji and Narumi move toward the rooftop, the others continue battling throughout the school. Hosen students flood into the building and overwhelm the hallways. Even inside the classrooms, the fighting continues. Despite being heavily outnumbered, the GPS members keep pushing forward. Their goal is clear: reach the rooftop and support Genji. Along the way, Takashi becomes trapped inside a classroom surrounded by Hosen fighters. Narumi is also nearby. He orders the other students to stay back and challenges Takashi to fight alone. Meanwhile, Ryo continues proving why he is one of Hosen's strongest warriors. No matter how many fighters are knocked down, more Hosen students keep appearing. During the battle, Takashi is eventually overwhelmed. Tokaji also removes his helmet and is knocked to the ground. Even after taking heavy damage, Tokaji stands up again and continues fighting. At the same time, Genji, Takashi, and Serizawa keep moving forward through wave after wave of enemies. The battle eventually reaches the staircase leading to the rooftop. Takashi remains behind and continues fighting there while Genji and Serizawa push ahead. As they climb higher, they are stopped by Ryo. He allows Genji to continue to the rooftop while choosing to face Serizawa himself. Finally, Genji reaches the roof and comes face to face with Narumi. The long-awaited one-on-one fight begins. Elsewhere, Takashi knocks out several opponents and keeps advancing. Tokaji also refuses to stay down despite his injuries. Meanwhile, Ryo lands several brutal attacks on Serizawa and leaves him badly wounded. Even so, Serizawa refuses to fall. As the fight continues, Ryo slowly begins losing his strength. Eventually, Serizawa finishes him with his famous signature attack and knocks him unconscious. On the rooftop, however, Genji and Narumi are still fighting with everything they have left. Both are exhausted and barely able to stand. Suddenly, a student named Washio rushes toward Genji with a knife, hoping to end the fight. Before he can attack, Takashi arrives and delivers a powerful kick that sends him crashing to the ground. A few moments later, Serizawa also reaches the rooftop. The final battle between Genji and Narumi reaches its climax. Neither fighter can properly stand anymore, but they continue exchanging blows. After several more punches and kicks, Genji finally lands the decisive hit and knocks Narumi down. With that victory, Genji wins the war. As the battle comes to an end, Takashi reminds Narumi to keep fighting for the sake of his late brother. After their hard-earned victory, the students of Suzuran leave the battlefield with smiles on their faces. Meanwhile, Ken and Kawanishi return to the quiet village where Ken now works, bringing the story to its conclusion. Sometime later, Genji once again decides to challenge Rindon. Meanwhile, Serizawa and the rest of the boys stand by his side and watch the final showdown unfold. This also happens to be the last day for Genji and his friends at Suzuran High School. The long-awaited battle between Genji and Rindon finally begins. Both fighters give everything they have and refuse to back down. During the intense fight, Genji manages to push Rindon to his limit and sends him crashing onto the rooftop. Without wasting a second, Genji leaps into the air and launches one final punch toward Rindon. And with that epic moment, the movie comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you like this movie explanation, make sure to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. That's all for today. I'll see you again in the next video with another amazing story. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye bye and sayonara.